Gabby's with me today. We are heading straight out to Bilbao Airport right now to join our very own Rangers legend who's on commentary duty for the game last night. Ali McCoist, morning Coisty.
Good morning, Ali.
Good morning, boys. How are we this morning? Good to talk to you.
Very good, mate. By the way, I watched the game on German television last night. I can tell you their summariser. Not a patch on you, mate. Not a patch.
Hey, listen, you did well to hang on, mate. It wasn't a great game, was it? Let's be honest about it.
No, I tell you what, though, I couldn't understand. I couldn't understand a word he said. You're a bit like you, mate. Actually, to be brutally. No, look. Yeah, it wasn't a great game for somebody who's watching from hundreds of miles away. But what was it like in the stadium? The atmosphere seemed great.
Jeff, listen, Gabby, it was absolutely terrific. It really was. It's a great stadium. I was lucky to be there early on in the tournament with Rangers. Wonderful stadium. So I was looking forward to the final. And boy, did they hold it well. The atmosphere prior to the game, I'm talking 2-3 hours before the game, lads, was absolutely magnificent. And when you went into the stadium, I mean, you actually, some of the interviews, I don't know if you saw Big Ange getting interviewed pre-match, you actually couldn't hear yourself talk and you couldn't hear the questions that were getting put to you. It was certainly up there with one of the best atmospheres I've seen in a long time. It really was. It was special. And you're absolutely right. You know, the Spurs fans and Big Ange and the Spurs lads won't be caring about whether it was a good game or not because they got the job done. I thought the United were really poor. And I thought the better team won. They just defended. It's amazing, guys. You know, he's been criticised from pillar to post, and he ends up with 3 clean sheets. You know, in Frankfurt against Bodo Glimt and against Manchester United, and they win the tournament. So well played, Spurs, I say.
Well, Ali, isn't this what we've been talking about for the last 2 years about changing the way you play in certain games?
Yeah.
He's done that in recent months in the Europa League to get through the knockout stages. And last night, his tactics worked better than Manchester United's. And that's what he needs to do going forward, doesn't he? Have a plan B?
100%, Gab. 100%. Gab, Jeff, I think his hands were tied a little bit and he was forced with the injuries to play those 3 in the middle of the park. But I think it worked for him.
Yes.
You know, I think it absolutely worked for him. And they were tight in the midfield. The 3 midfield lads worked really hard. Defensively, they were sound. The 2 centre-backs, as we know, when they play, they're just a different team, particularly Van de Ven. When Mickey Van de Ven plays, and what a clearance he had off the line, by the way, tremendous. When they play together, they're just a different side. But they looked a lot more solid. I think United, they restricted United to a couple of kind of half chances, really. But you're right, it was a completely different Tottenham performance. They got the job done, and they've won the first trophy in, 17 years?
Ali, were you surprised with the team that Ruben Amorim went with Mason Mount starting, no Garnacho, Bruno playing deep?
I was, Jeff. But I'll tell you what, I was even more surprised that he didn't make changes earlier. I mean, I was flabbergasted, to be honest with you. That, I mean, 45 minutes, I'm saying to myself, well, he's got to get Garnacho on the pitch and he's maybe going to take Mount off, because I thought apart from Ahmad gave us something about the first 35 minutes of the first half and then disappeared second half. But I thought he must make a change to try and get a bit of width, and Garnacho would get at Porro and maybe take him on. So that was the big surprise for me, you know, that yes, the starting 11 surprised me. Also, I was a little bit surprised that Son didn't start, but I get Big Ange's, you know, where he was coming from, because I felt as an impact sub, Son might have been a bigger impact sub than the Charleston. But United, I couldn't believe he didn't make any changes at half-time, and I thought he waited a little bit too long to make the changes, Jeff.
Ali, I know you've got to go, mate. I know you've got to shoot, you've got to fly. But most importantly, how good of a hugger is Ange Postecoglou? Because I've seen after the game you have a big hug. And has your wife been in touch? A bit of jealousy of how good that hug was. It was a long, tight hug, Ali.
Listen, I was delighted for him, mate. I've known him a long time, as you can imagine. I got a long way back, and I thought some of the stick that he got, listen, a lot of it's justified because it's been a terrible season domestically for both clubs. Of course it has, but I just felt some of the criticism that came his way towards the final was a little bit personal. You know,
The clown comment, that was a disgrace, you know. It's,
terrible. Absolutely terrible, mate. You can argue about his tactics, you can argue about his formations, you can argue about how many points.
Way too personal.
I thought so, mate. I thought so. Yeah. And as I say, I was genuinely delighted for him. I really was pleased for him.
Coisty, safe trip home.
Yep. Get home, Ali. You've got some work to do. Get home, pal.
Absolutely, lad. See you next week. Look forward to seeing you next week,
later,
boys.
mate.
Let's hear from the man of the moment then, Ange Postecoglou. He's won a trophy in his second season, but what does the future hold for him? Let's find out.
I think I said yesterday, I'm pretty kind of, not relaxed is not the word, because I'd be disappointed if we couldn't continue on this path. But, you know, like I said, it's not a criticism. I understand why it would be difficult for a club like this to buy into one person's vision. You know, I remember even when I signed, you know, it was kind of, you know, the club, well, even Daniel sort of said, you know, we went after winners, it didn't work, and now we've got Ange. And, mate, I'm a winner. I've been a serial winner my whole career. It's what I've done more than anything else, you know. And I know people talk about my football, which I'm very proud of, and I know people dismiss my achievements because, you know, they didn't happen to happen on this side of the world. But for me, they're all hard-earned, and all I've done my whole career is win things. And but I understand, you know, look, obviously the way things have gone in the league, you know, people are rightly to be concerned about. Like I said, I don't think there's a true reflection of where we're at. But whatever happens, I said my own sort of belief in what I do doesn't waver, and I'll continue to kind of push on to do what I do.
Well, let's get some reaction to this now with the former Spurs boss, Harry Redknapp. Morning, Harry.
Good morning, Harry.
Good morning.
So look,
Gabby, good morning.
Morning, pal.
Harry, is he right? Does the league position not matter too much when you've won the Europa League?
Difficult one, Jeff. I mean, it's a great night for Tottenham to finally win a trophy, you know, and but, you know, when you're sitting, you know, fourth or fifth from bottom of the table, it's certainly not that's going to come into the chairman's thinking. I think at the moment it's a difficult one. I wouldn't know either way whether Ange will keep his job or not. You know, Daniel will make his decision and whatever. I couldn't call it either way. It's going to be a close one, I think. You know, but great night for Spurs last night to finally get their hands on a trophy. You know, and second half they defended for their lives. And Man United, for all the possession, didn't have the ability to really quite break them down. So, yeah, but a trophy in the cupboard. He said he would get a trophy, and he's done it. So, fantastic for Spurs. Great that they've had finally finished the season with a bit of something to be happy about.
Harry, you know what it means to the fans and the club to get this Europa League more than most of us. But surely now, as a fan, as a club, they want to keep winning trophies year after year. They want to bring in the right players in the summer with the right manager to go and have a good go in the Champions League and get up into the top 5 positions again next season. That's what they need to do, don't they, mate? Yeah,
Gabby, but I'll be honest, at the start of the year, I saw Tottenham, you know, as a betting man. I stuck Spurs. They ruined every bet of mine this year. I put them in the top 4. I honestly looked at the squad. I thought, yeah, it looks a real good squad of players. And you looked at the strength in depth last night on the bench. You know, they've got quality throughout the squad. And I really, and when you consider they had 2 or 3 key players missing last night, the real flair went out the team with Madison, Kulusevski, you know, missing the people that can make things happen. But it's a strong squad. So, you know, there's plenty of money involved in winning that last night and winning the cup last night. So I'm sure they'll invest again. They talk about Romero wanting to go and play in Italy or somewhere. So there'll be changes. But you know, with Ange, I wouldn't call it either way whether he's going to be the man at the helm next year. Only Daniel would know that.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely brilliant for Spurs fans. Next season, Champions League football, of course. How do you think they'll cope with Champions League and Premier League football, Harry?
Yeah, fine. I mean, it's great. They've had it before, Jeff. You know, I mean, They got to a final a couple of years ago with Pochettino. So, you know, they've certainly come very close to winning Champions League to make a final. So, yeah, great for it. You know, the league next year, they won't be anywhere near as bad in the league, that's for sure, whoever's in charge. And I hope it's Ange. I like him. He's a good guy. I've met him a few times. You know, I'd like to see him keep his job. But certainly next year they'll want to be pushing for a top 6 place at worst, and certainly pushing as hard as they can to get back in that top 4.
Harry, brilliant. Have a great day. Thank you very much, Harry.
Talking to you, lads.
You too, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Here's a text from Roger from Manchester. He says, "Why are fans so loyal? If my wife disappointed me as much as Man United, I'd divorce her and find another. But I'm stuck with my football club, trapped. I'll tell you what, Roger, you better hope your missus isn't listening at the moment, or it'll be Roger and out.
talkSPORT Breakfast, waking you up Monday to Friday morning from 6 a.m. on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.